On this episode of the Happy Go Social podcast, I'm going to teach you how to get online and talk about what you do without sounding like an idiot. A lot of people will open up their phone, they'll look at their camera, they'll say something, they'll delete it. They'll sit down and they'll try and write out a script and then they erase it. And then they'll go to ChatGPT and they'll say, give me 10 things that a buyer might want to know right now in 2026. And it'll give you a list of 10 things that it's given every single other agent who is sitting in their office trying to solve the same problem of creating content online. The key here is that you need to stop trying to sound like an agent and start actually sounding like a person. Every real estate agent has this wonderful ability to communicate with their clients in real life. Most real estate agents get into the business because they had talks too much written on their report cards every single year of their school career. And they finally found something where talking too much is a really great thing. But then whenever they get in front of the camera, they freeze because they don't know what to say. It's not a real person. You can talk to somebody, but talking to a camera is a whole lot more intimidating, especially when you have to be the one that watches what you say and then post it online for people to potentially judge. It gets really intimidating. But if you start thinking about what it is that you're saying to your clients every single day, that is the authenticity that I think people are trying to have you bring to your camera presence. We keep hearing the word authenticity. We hear the word trust, but nobody ever really explains how it is that you're supposed to bring that authenticity and that trust to the screen. What actually happens to create that trust with somebody on the other side of the camera? I hear great things about, talking to a human, saying the word you. I'm not introducing myself and saying, hey guys, welcome to whatever this is, like I'm talking to a crowd. I'm speaking to one particular person. Today I'm speaking to you, the real estate agent who is struggling to get online and share what it is that they do, not because they're afraid of being online, but because they don't know what to say. So today, that is what we are unpacking. There is something that I see online that happens a lot where when people get uncomfortable with what they're about to do, they start cracking jokes and they start leaning into humor, which is why I think a lot of people lean into trends because they're easy, because it's something that you're already laughing at yourself about. So when other people are watching it, it's okay for them to laugh at it too. It's like it gives you a little bit of comfort knowing that on the other side, they're laughing at you on purpose instead of laughing at you because what you said sounded stupid. And I think that can work really well for some people, but eventually you're going to have to actually talk about what you do to the camera so that other people can understand that, you're not just funny, but you're actually knowledgeable. You actually understand how the real estate market works. But whenever we start leaning into self-deprecating humor and humor too much, then it starts becoming just a little bit cringe. And I think of things like The Office, which I love. Fantastic series. Most of us are probably millennials. For those of you who aren't, then just go ahead and watch the whole series. But there's 2 episodes in particular that I absolutely cannot watch, will not think about. I will think about it for you today. First one is Scott's Tots. He promises a group of underprivileged kids that if they graduate high school, then he's going to pay for college or something like that. I don't even know because I only watched it once and would never watch it again. That episode makes me die inside. I shrivel up. I can't watch it. The second it comes on, I'm like, I can't do this. And the other one is the episode where it's a family-run paper company and he comes in as a secret paper buyer and then they use all of that information to overtake the company. And at the very end of the episode, he's, distraught because he destroyed this family-run company, everything that he wanted to be, which was to have a family. He destroyed it from the inside out. Can't watch that episode either. It makes me cringe. You don't want to be that person online. I have so many other episodes of The Office that I love to watch, but whenever I get to that one episode, the humor's gone too far. The satire has hit in such a way that makes me not want to engage with it. And maybe the story is really good, but I don't care because the humor has entered a realm that I'm not comfortable with watching. So you have to be really careful with what you're doing online as far as humor goes. And you need to make sure that you're balancing that in such a way that your audience doesn't cringe and never wants to watch you again. You want to make sure that you're talking to only one person. You're not performing for an entire audience. If you're not going to say it face to face, then don't post it. There's a lot of controversial takes that happen online, but I'm thinking there are things I'll talk about with friends over coffee. And instead of looking at them and saying, most people believe that XYZ, or trying to throw some stat at them and some controversial take, we're approaching it from a much more empathetic perspective. Did you hear about what happened with so-and-so in this situation? And then you talk about the controversial take, well, I really think that maybe they should have done this, or perhaps if they would have looked at it a different way. And you're approaching it in such a way that brings people into the story. You're actually having a conversation around this. How can you do that with a camera and make it feel like the person on the other side is being wrapped into that conversation with you? The controversy right now, I think, is that interest rates are really high and homes are unaffordable. So how do you get online and say, this is how you can navigate that without pointing fingers at whoever it is that you think is the problem, and without making it sound like you're just angry all the time? Because I don't think what buyers want is to watch somebody be angry all the time or try and convince them that it's better than what it is. They want to hear empathy. They want to feel like you're talking directly to them and understanding why it is that they're feeling the way that they're feeling and what it is that you can do to help them get to the other side. Here's another thing that I think is really important, and I am practicing this a lot. ChatGPT and LLMs have been around, large language models, for 3 or 4 years now, which feels crazy to say that out loud, that I have been paying for ChatGPT for 3+ years. And I love it. I use it all the time. It is a daily driver. I use it more than I use Google, which should tell you something about the way that buyers and sellers are using the internet. But where I think we struggle with LLMs and with ChatGPT type models is that we're letting it do the thinking for us. It's creating language for us in such a way that now all of us sound like this one big robotic person. Captain Obvious over here, right? How can we fix that? How do we make ourselves sound so authentic online that we don't sound stupid like everybody else? It's not the same 10 things that, buyers or sellers should be doing right now because it's not pulling from the same information. I think that what is so important at this point is, number one, you need to be reading books. Like actual physical books. Don't ask ChatGPT a question. Don't ask ChatGPT to give you a summary of a book. You should actually be reading the book because you are immersing yourself in language. You're giving your brain all of the words and tools, and somebody has carefully crafted this book in such a way that you're going to be able to connect with it and understand it. And it's giving you the mental practice of engaging and understanding how you can take language and turn it into something that somebody else is going to engage with as well. That's the thing that I think ChatGPT scripts really miss, is that empathy, the ability to connect with another person. It's a bunch of words that have a point and might have meaning, but it's really lacking in depth and in, personality. So reading books is very important. Number 2, you got to talk to yourself. And I feel like this is one of those where I'm like, am I really saying this out loud? That I talk to myself all the time in the car. 2 funny stories. First one, when I was in college, I was going to an interview and I accidentally butt dialed a friend, which was a thing back then. I don't think it's nearly as common now that people are butt dialing people, but it was like my Nokia phone. And I butt dialed a friend and I got to their voicemail and I was talking to myself as if I was in the interview. Hi, my name is Rachel Bowen and I have blah, 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 blah. I can't remember what I said, but I was practicing for my interview in the car and I was relentlessly made fun of afterwards. And then the second story would be that my kids will sometimes ask me like, hey mom, who are you talking to? And it's usually just myself. So now my oldest will be like, are you talking to yourself again? And I'm like, yes, I am. That's exactly what I'm doing. But the reason why that is not cringe and very important is because the more you practice, the better you're going to be at it. If you are ascribing to the client problem pillar, like I've been talking about in my episodes, we don't have content pillars, buyer, seller, relocation, whatever those are. You have client problems that you are specifically trying to solve, and that is your pillar. You have the ability to answer 20 plus questions. You're able to answer that question in such a way that your client knows that you're the one who understands them the best. You're going to be able to answer those questions without stuttering over yourself if you are consistently talking to yourself to answer the questions. So here's how you combine that with ChatGPT. Totally ran around on that one, squirreled. You're going to talk to yourself, but you need to record it. Either record it with a video, which might be a little cringe for you. Record it with Otter AI or some other sort of transcription service, or just have it talk to text so that you have it written out. And talk to yourself for as long as you can possibly stand it. Talk about all of the angles that you have on this particular subject. I think about my ideal client, somebody moving to Tullahoma, somebody who might have small children, somebody who's like 28 to 38, maybe 40, who has potentially their homeschool family. That's usually people that I'm targeting. And their main concern is whether or not they're going to be able to move to Tullahoma and feel comfortable in town. Am I going to be able to take my life from California and bring it over to Tennessee and still maintain routines and normalcy for my kids? And so it's my job to help solve that problem for them. I moved from Murfreesboro, it's only an hour away, to Tullahoma, and I had a lot of feelings. I had a lot of things that went through my mind as I was moving from Murfreesboro to Tullahoma. So if I can just talk to myself for 30 minutes to an hour as I'm driving from showing to showing on the feelings that I had, on the problems that I had to solve, on how I walked through the solutions. If I can think through, there's this one client that had moved from California to Tennessee, and this is what we did for them. These were the questions that they had along the way. And then you talk to yourself as if you're answering the questions for your client. You think back through, this was what the buyer meeting looked like with them, and these are the things that I said. And just say as much as possible. It's like a brain dump with paper, except you're saying it out loud. You're giving a messaging dump. And then once you're done with that, download the transcript, upload it to ChatGPT, and tell it, make sense of what I've just said. Give me a script here for what it is that I've said using only my language. Don't add anything in. I don't want AI fluff. I want it 100% human. I want it to follow my natural cadence. And I want you to extract 5 to 8 things from this, messaging dump that I can use clearly in a video online. And then that should help you start crafting what you're looking towards saying. But ultimately, what I want you to do is take those content pillars, your client problems, and start assigning it a one-liner or a brief paragraph. This is the problem personified. This is the problem said in such a way that it shows that I have empathy, that I have the knowledge, that I have, the ability to guide them to the finish line. And then I want you to repeat it every single day, whether you're waking up in the morning and saying it, whether you're saying it while you're brushing your teeth or reading it in your head, whether you're doing it right before you go to bed. You have to say it out loud. You can't just read it in your head. You have to say it out loud, because at the beginning, whenever you're talking about these things, you're going to sound really passionate. Like today, I'm just talking from the hip. I haven't practiced any of these things. There's some things within this podcast episode that I've practiced in the car, but for the most part, I'm speaking from the hip. And I think you can tell that I'm derailing a little bit. I have a few squirrel moments. There's some moments where I say and I have to think through, what it is that I'm going to say next. But I have a lot of passion behind what it is that I'm saying. There's a lot of emotion because I know what it's like to be a real estate agent getting online and wondering, why is what I've been doing not working anymore, and what do I need to do differently? So I want to share these things with you in an authentic way. Now, whenever I go to share it online repeatedly, I need to go from this emotional, passionate state to being able to say it really clearly too. So I have to practice. And when you practice, you're going to start moving into this middle ground of weird and robotic, right? I read a book about TED Talks, and this is where I had gotten this framework from. So don't think that it just came from my head. So you start at the beginning, you have this really passionate list of things that you're saying, and then you move into this like uncanny valley where you're saying it, you sound really robotic, you've practiced it, it feels like something that you've recited, it's like a poem that you've read for school. It almost never sounds like, genuine and emotional whenever some middle school boy stands up and repeats a poem from, I can't even think of a poet. But the more you practice, the more you memorize it, the more natural it becomes, the more second nature it is to say, this is what I'm solving. This is how I solve your problem. And then you start getting into this, automatic state. You can say the thing, you know what comes next. You've said it so many times that you can add a little bit of nuance and then still get back to the main point because you're so familiar with the answer to that question or the solution to that problem. And that's when you can start adding that empathy and emotion back into the conversation. But the only way that you're going to get here where you sound like it's natural and like it's second nature and like it's practiced and like you're connecting with somebody is by practicing so much, so obnoxiously so that you can say it in your sleep. So those are my thoughts for today. I think that it's important for us to get online and just shoot the stuff. But I think at the same time, it's important for us to get very, very clear on who it is that we're serving, what it is that their problem is, and why it is that I'm the solution to their problem. And once I can answer those 3 questions, then I can start creating the script, if you will, around how it is that I solve the problem. Somebody can ask me the question in an elevator and I can give them 3 sentences so smoothly and with so much confidence that they have no choice but to say, hey, I'm going to pick them as my real estate agent. Every single week we talk about marketing, messaging, real estate related things in that genre. I am a real estate agent. I've been a real estate agent for 6 years. I'm a Keller Williams University approved trainer and a story brand guide with Donald Miller's story brand framework. My passion is talking to people about what they do well. So if you want more of this, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, let me know what you're struggling with. Tell me what your problems are so that I can talk to myself in the car and then get on here and answer them for you. See you next week.